This is Steve Cotterill then ahead of Walsall away. Steve, obviously you were pleased with the performance, but how much difference to the week did the equaliser in stoppage time make on Monday?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I was pleased with the performance. We've played a lot better than that, and probably not got a result. So I wouldn't say I was pleased with the performance. We just looked a little bit lethargic in moments. But then when I looked at Cambridge against Swindon 2 or 3 days before it, and they had another day on us when we played on the Friday and they played on the Thursday, I wouldn't say that they had the same zip in their game either that they had against Swindon. So, this is what happens. The consistency level at League Two isn't going to be like some of the games that you get to watch on TV most of the time. I mean, over the last few days, I think I watched the Bromley-Shrewsbury game, and then I've watched 3 Walsall games, and then I watched Paris Saint-Germain against Liverpool last night. So we can't judge everything by them.
And on the basis of that, I mean, what it does just show is the value of keeping going, doesn't it? Which is, I guess, you putting into the players all the time anyway. But good that they get the rewards from that.
Always, you've always got to keep going. Sometimes what happens when you go 1-0 down and you keep knocking on the door, or you don't get any change out of the game. I mean, Cambridge don't give hardly anything away. They don't give you many looks at their goal. They've done that really, really well. Not just against us, but they've done that all season really, really well. And, to get the goal was obviously a bonus. It wasn't an ideal goal from our point of view, if you know what I mean. But what is an ideal goal? So it was ideal timing. And I wouldn't say there was a lot in it. They probably had more efforts on goal than us. Well, in fact, they did. And I said in my post-match, we probably had more possession to them. And we did. So, I think we haven't done too bad with nigh on the same players.
And Ben Stevenson's abductor, you're sort of managing that at the moment. Is he good to go again under continued management?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one at the moment. It's been too close to that game. That will be something, we'll make a late decision on and find out where he is with that.
And is it likely to be a series of late decisions on him now for the rest of the season?
I don't know. There might only be one, mightn't there? I don't know the answer to that yet. So let's wait and see. We need to look at that one carefully.
Everyone else okay?
Not at the moment.
And I'm sure you're not going to tell me, and I wouldn't blame you for that either, so I won't even bother asking. The nods told me everything. Mamadou Diallo has been nominated for the League Two Apprentice of the Season. How well deserved is that nomination?
Well, it is well deserved, obviously, because there's only 3 of them, and he's been one of 3, so that's good. Obviously we're pleased about that. We're pleased for Mams. That's another bonus for the football club for sure.
And obviously, not much game time. It's been limited to the trophy, hasn't it? But in terms of what he can learn and just being around the first team, how much of an education is that for a youngster?
Well, it's probably not as much of a good enough education as playing, but he's not ready to play in the team. And Joe has done very well. And what Mams needs to do is play games. That's what he needs to do. We're not in a situation where I would want to chuck in a young goalkeeper over the period of the season. And like I said, Joe's done very, very well. And Mams probably needs to have a loan where he can go and play regular football.
The other bit of news that's come out of the club this week, advertising for a managing director. How good is that to have, or how good will it be to have someone behind the scenes running the club day to day?
Yeah, really good. Really good. I've said for a while anyway, we've been understaffed at this football club probably, well, ever since I've been here. And then, obviously I speak to the people that are already here. And we've been understaffed ever since I've been here. So, yeah, I think, another body, I think will definitely help the football club.
Because if things work more efficiently and if that can drive the commercial department, then that means more resources potentially for you on the playing side.
Well, I don't know if it means that, and that, I don't think that's the objective. I think, I think the objective is to get somebody here that can, help on all sides of it. There's the business side of the club all the time. There's the commercial side of it. Just all of it. I just think somebody, needs to be there, like a general manager or whatever it is. There needs to be somebody there on a day-to-day basis, because at the moment what you get is you get everybody from each department saying they may need this, they may need that, and then all of a sudden it will go through a load of emails from individuals from their department rather than going to someone, if you know what I mean, and then they can pull that together and go and speak to the board on things. So I think it's fine. I think definitely it's a good move.
And you do it with the club on the verge of securing League Two status again for next season. That journey to get to there, I mean, I guess mathematical certainty is kind of the big target between now and the end of the season, is it?
It's the only target. It's the only thing that I've focused on since I've been here. And, we tried our darndest every week to get results and whatever it is through all the trials and tribulations from very early on in the season. But basically, really, we've been working off of what will be a 36 game season with 10 games already gone. So, it's hard to start doing things in mid-season, and it's very, very hard to keep a club up when you end up in taking over the club in difficult circumstances. So, as I've said before, and I'll say many a time again, there's been a bucket load of work done by a lot of people who've worked really, really hard. I can't thank my staff enough for how they've been, the support they've given me, and also the players as well. Sometimes we won't play well, but it doesn't mean to say they haven't given me what they've got that day. So what we need to do is see the job through, but to get where we've got to, whether other teams around us have been getting beat, it's irrelevant. It's getting those points that we've needed, and we've still got a few games to go, and we want to get as many points as we can going into the end of the season. So that's what we'll try and do.
In those early days when you were trying to change things round and educate the players in your way of doing things, one of the good early wins was against Walsall, and they were top of the table at the time. How do you assess them?
Well, I still think they're a good team. I still think they've got some good players, and I still think they've got lots of traits that Matt Sadler had put in them before. What I mean by that, I think they're honest. I think they're hard-working. I think they still do lots of things the same now as they did under Matt. And I mean the good things in the game. Change their formation. Yeah, that's, that happens sometimes when one of the other coaches takes over from a manager and maybe sees things slightly different and he wants to do it his way. So, if you have a look at it, they're still one of the teams up there. It is still mathematically possible for them to get into the playoffs. They might be down, but that last space it's concertinaed up in that last little bit. From 7th down to wherever they are, mid-table-ish. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game. We know that we've got to play well, but then we've had to try and play well every week to get ourselves away from where we were.
And how dangerous does that make a team when not only have they got those good traits, but they can be unpredictable, have different ways of playing, and also obviously they've got that desperation of going for the playoffs.
Well, I would say that when teams are going for the playoffs, or when they're in the playoffs, or when they're in that top three and they're fighting for promotion, what invariably happens in those games is those teams at the top there, and I've been in those teams at the top, invariably you win the games that you really, really need to win. And then it can work in reverse when you're one of those teams that are desperately fighting to stay in the league, that are in the lower reaches. Whilst we didn't see that on Monday, results-wise, we definitely saw it in the week before that. So the unpredictability of football at every level is probably exacerbated going into the final weeks of the season, when everything becomes as it would be, where everyone's desperate for the 3 points. So this isn't anything different to what I would have experienced. Football hasn't changed that much. What I mean by that, football has changed on the pitch. Football hasn't changed that much in terms of all the talking in 30 odd years. So, you prepare your team to win, and you don't worry and comment too much about others.
And that's why we love the game. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.